Let's talk about the Denims W. Denims got a W in court. And I'll say the truth that no one else will say. I'll say the truth that no one else will say. The judge was a snarker. The judge was anti-Semitic. The judge was in Discord chats clearly. The judge was a denim simp. The judge didn't know the law. The judge loves violating copyright himself. And perhaps, most importantly, I paid the judge.
Bruh.
And the judge did CPS. Or, worst of all, the judge was Hamas.
Oh, hey there. It's your old friend Denims. I have a lot to catch you up on, but before that, a quick message for Ethan.
Look at me. This is me. I win, you lose. And you will continue to lose, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm not done. I'll never be done. Fat L's, cringe, you lose, I win.
Before we start, let me bring in our honored guest. You might have previously known him as the Fair Use King. And let me just... There we go, much better. At least he's still the king.
dude. That's amazing. I don't know who the fuck this guy is. Who is this guy? What's going on? Every single one of these people just got handed a spectacular W while they were demanding an L for themselves. Okay? Every single one of these streamers does reaction videos. Okay? This would have opened up the floodgates. Every single one of these streamers have done reaction videos to shit that I've put out, ironically enough. Imagine if I, who, you know, has a decent amount of money, imagine if I did a fraction of the frivolous lawsuit pursuit that Ethan Klein engaged in against some of the worst demonic entities on the internet. Okay, 2-0 Norway, by the way. Holland scored again for Norway. Anyway.
Desperation, like all those videos of like small animals getting eaten by snakes and shit, sort of primal shit of like a human being in that scenario. Denims does deserve it, so maybe it is worth watching.
About that lawsuit, honestly, I feel like they're already fucked, right? And I feel like they're basically cooked no matter what. Denims raised $15K for Ethan. That's nice of her to do that.
The lawsuit asserts that there has to be some kind of like conspiracy with the H3 Snark mods, but I've never communicated with any of them in any way. So what exactly did I say that?
Yeah, that's the most schizo part of this. There's so much schizo shit going on here. Like Ethan Klein has genuinely lost his fucking mind. But I think he legitimately thinks that there is like a coordinated effort that he is, I guess, decided to call Snark. Which Snark exists, right? Like for celebrities, obviously, Ethan Klein happens to run one of the most robust Snark subreddits for me, and Denims, and Casey Tron, and Frogan, and whoever Ethan fucking has decided is not sufficiently pro-Israel. But the funniest part about all of this is that Ethan Klein thinks that there is like a coordinated effort to besmirch his reputation. And that's because he's a fucking narcissist. Okay? He does not understand that his own fan base turned on him because of his own output. This was something that I tried to gently communicate to him back when we had a podcast together. And instead of listening to what I had to say to him as a friend and a co-host at the time, he chose to unleash war upon me and virtually anyone else that had ever appeared on my stream or had shown support to my worldview. It was mind-boggling. Because like with Denims, I've had such little contact with Denims. Like, I've seen her at TwitchCon. You know what I mean? I have no, like, we're not coordinating with one another. Okay? Since that fallout, by the way, Ethan Klein has burned so much goodwill. He has lost 500,000 subs. Like, he is burning his channel. He's burning his reputation. And he's burning a good deal of money. H3 and Diddy G were in full QAnon mode when you reacted to the content nuke because you were wearing the Ron Burgundy coat and the leftover subreddit's avatar was you in that coat. Like you were signaling Lemao, bro. Wait, what? Amazing. The only thing that connects myself, Denims, Frogan, Casey Tron, and numerous other people like Noah Samson that Ethan is still also, I think, trying to sue, and iDubbbz, is that we have a shared perspective on Israel's genocide of the Palestinians. Okay? We know one another. We're friendly with one another. I appreciate their voice in this space. But that's it. Okay? That's it. Ethan thought that was enough to create a bizarre grand conspiracy where we're all coordinating with one another and coordinating with a bunch of fans in Discord circles and subreddits to besmirch his good reputation, which is ironic because I mean, I'm friends with these people too, for the record. I'm not doing the Ludwig coworker shit, okay? I like these people, okay? I'm friends. But we're not like talking to one another all the fucking time. Do you see what I mean? I'm not doing the coworker wig shit. I'm just saying that we're not in constant fucking contact with one another to like ruin Ethan Klein's life, and we're getting together and talking to fans and doing all this stuff. We're not like, we're not devising devilish plots against Ethan Klein in the way that he thinks is happening, okay? I would go to their funerals. I hope that, I die before them, but, like, we all have our own goals. We all have our own thing. We align on a lot of issues politically, okay? And I've, of course, defended them as well because they've done things worthy of defense. They were unjustly maligned, attacked endlessly, ruthlessly. And the irony is there was a coordinated effort. It just wasn't happening on our side. It was happening to us, okay? The coordinated effort was pure projection from Ethan Klein because that's what he was doing. He was doing this with the internet's most ruthless sex pest, doxer, cult leader, Sex Pestiny, whose podcast co-host is a sponsor of H3H3 podcasts, redact.dev, right? They were the ones who were actually trying to get institutions involved, organizations like the ADL involved deliberately in this conversation. That's what happened. It was always pure projection. His accusations were confessions, okay?
That proves this malicious intent and involvement in this conspiracy. Well, here are the clips from his video. We're relying on you to stay live so we don't give more views on the nuke. Yeah, I'm gonna stream it. Since he confirmed it's coming out today, we're gonna stream it. If you want to watch it with someone else who's already watching it, come enjoy the watch party somewhere else. If you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime. If you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here. Compelling, right? Here's the thing. I don't care how many views Ethan's video gets.
Yeah, Sex Pestiny literally the other day said he was going to launch a massive harassment campaign against me and other like-minded people to get me off the internet. Every accusation from them is a projection. But what's also really funny about that is he's been doing that for the past 7 years and it's fucking failed. So I don't know what he's going to do further. You know what I mean? He's already been doing that. He's been doing that nonstop. Ethan Klein was just another victim, kind of, in this grand battle.
It's just not something that's ever crossed my mind. So in that first clip, when I read that chat message, I answer their question and move on. I hope you guys don't mind me not lambasting that chatter. The second clip is so plainly out of context that I don't really know what to think of it, especially considering that they also tried to use it in the filing. Let me play the full thing for you. Yeah, this is another thing. Don't go bother Hassan while he's in fucking Japan having a good time. Don't bother him about this stupid garbage. Like, I think it's bad enough to like lose a friend, especially someone where someone you really try to like make a better person. The last thing I would want while I'm vacationing in Japan is to be fucking linked 100 times some video from a deranged ex of mine, right? If you want to watch it with someone else who's already watching it, come enjoy the watch party somewhere else.
So she wasn't even saying, don't watch Ethan Klein's video, watch me instead. She was saying, don't bother Hassan with this nonsensical bullshit. He's in Japan, which, by the way, ironically enough, part of the reason why I didn't cover it in Japan was because Donald Trump had just gotten elected and I'm a fucking 34-year-old adult who happens to be a political commentator. Oh my God. Not only that, but Israel's genocide was obviously continuing. And I brought both of those things up all the time whenever people were like, what are you, scared? You scared that Ethan is destroying your soul, destroying your career? Are you fucking scared? And I'd be like, no, I have real news to cover. And they would be like, oh my God, he is so terrified. Lo and behold, it turns out, Ethan already was scheming, apparently, by his own admission. He was scheming to try to trap people into legal battles, myself included. It obviously didn't work. He fucking cried on camera, being like, why won't he watch my fucking context nuke? You were clearly dodging the content nuke according to 3 mental illness subreddits. It's one of the funniest things that I've ever encountered in my professional career for the last 13 years. The idea that this like low IQ demon who has no fucking concept, who has no conceptualization, no understanding, no historical context whatsoever of like the Israel-Palestinian conflict that has spanned far beyond October 7, of course, that I was worried about his mental prowess, his compilation of YouTube videos, his compilation of clips, all nefariously clipped over the course of the last 2 years at that point by my cyber stalkers. And I kept telling everybody, look, if you want to hear my response to the context nuke, I already delivered it to you a month ago before the context nuke came out. Why do I have a video out there that was already responding to all of these claims? Well, perhaps it's because I know exactly where these claims were coming from. It was coming from Epstein's community of serial doxers and cyber stalkers and mass harassers. But no one wanted to go and do the work. No one wanted to go and do the work. And they just decided to live in their weird, hallucinating, alternative reality where they thought Ethan Klein had bested me intellectually. An intellectual giant had destroyed me. Ironic because, like, looking back at the context nuke now, especially as the public approval on Israel has obviously fallen into the gutter. Go give it a rewatch. Not all of you, but what I would wish for all of the initial, you should watch the context nuke. Why won't you react to the context nuke? I wish they could hear me now. I wish that they could potentially turn back and rewatch it to see what they saw back then versus how they feel now. How dare you not address the personalized equivalent to this while you were in another continent? Yeah. There were a million reasons as to why I didn't watch it, and it was literally the right move not to watch it. One, because it pissed off Ethan further. He literally cried on camera demanding that I watch it. That was good enough. Two, it was because I had already responded to all of the accusations and will continue to respond to all of those accusations for the rest of my career, most likely. Not because Ethan is some brilliant guy who brought up fantastic points, but because the community that actually compiled those clips took those clips to the ADL, Richie Torres. Those clips have now made their way into the congressional record. Not that it matters. It didn't matter. It didn't matter for Mallory McMorrow when she tried to use some of those clips against both me and Abdul Al-Sayed. Today's the day where Mallory McMorrow has officially dropped out of the Senate run in Michigan. Think about that. Think about that while you think of Norway. We are all Norwegian on this day. Very good. Brazil still has Hatsune Miku. Make it like a decade following Little Auto documentary as a content nuke.
I don't think that needs any further explanation. The last clip is me shilling at the end of my stream. So, you know, after I had just spent the past 4 hours tearing this video apart, what can I say? I thought the video was bad. Whether or not people watch his video is just not something I had thought about at all. If you want to argue about it, the viewership of my stream is totally insignificant compared to his. And nobody that listened to me criticize him for 4 hours was going to watch his video anyways, because it's a completely different experience. And I mean, that is literally what the court found. So all of that to say, there isn't anything uniquely special about this case. Technically, between you and me, even if there was, intent doesn't actually matter when it comes to analyzing whether or not something is fair use. So yeah, Ethan.
What is this genuine documentary level coverage by Kaya's Corner? The true legacy of Ethan Klein, the Kaya Chronicles. The Fallout, The Creep, The Descent, The Plan, The Legacy.
Posted this IG story saying that he would be proceeding with an appeal. And as I've stated from the very beginning, I will be fighting this lawsuit
that vid. Why?
to the end. I could not have gotten this far without all of your support. And to be honest with you guys, it has been kind of expensive.
Kaya, what did you do? Did you do that? She's tired. It's been a hot day.
So from the bottom of my heart, if you would like to help me fight this appeal to defend React content on the internet, please go to ethankleinlied.com and donate $5, $10, $20, really any amount that you're able to. Thank you again to everyone who has supported me and believed in me. And as I said before, I look forward to beating Ethan Klein in court. Besides that, I stream on Twitch Thursday through Sunday.
Great video. She knows not to talk without her lawyer present. Oh, Kaya, yes. Now, I wonder now that this now that this chapter has come to a close, even though Ethan says he's going to still appeal, we'll be super sick when Ethan inevitably loses at the appeals court and then appeals to SCOTUS. All of a sudden, Clarence Thomas becomes aware of who the fuck Hassan Piker is. I don't even want to know what the fuck there's no shot, right? Like, he's going to give up at some point. I think, I'll be honest. I think the commentary sphere, who has dogged Denims, Casey Tron, Frogan, all these people. Ethan reposted Legal Mindset about Denims' lawsuit saying she shouldn't listen to you about it being frivolous. Yeah, I remember. This was Legal Mindset, right-wing legal streamer who rode the Amber Heard hate train to a brief moment of prominence, is now looking to grift off the slop tube sexual assault nepotist crown by helping Tectone sue Denims. He also said this when I said this was a frivolous lawsuit.
And you are going to get smoked. It's not going to look good. Your underwear, and I mean that legally, is going to be dragged through the streets. This is going to be like that episode of Game of Thrones with the shame episode with Cersei. That's going to be what's going to happen legally. You don't want that. You don't want the dirty laundry out there. Settle. That's the real advice.
Are you sure they shouldn't listen to Hassan? He says it's frivolous. Well, it turns out it was. I'm not a fucking lawyer. I'm no big city lawyer. Okay? I'm not. I'm not a little city lawyer either. But it turns out I was at least a little bit more fucking competent than this goddamn loser. All of those YouTube lawyers. Oh my fucking Lord. Oh my fucking Lord. They all showed their asses. And you know what's crazy about this? I don't think their fan base cares. I don't think their fan base ever cared about the truth. I don't think I'm sure there were some people who went to watch these guys. They were like, well, this guy's wearing a suit. He says he's a lawyer. I'm inclined to believe him. But there is a good deal of people who just thought that Ethan Klein would be a good vessel to deliver punishments and vengeance towards women that they don't fuck with online, you know? That's it. And they don't give a shit. They'll move on to the next thing. They'll be like, oh, the judge was woke. The judge was a woke libtard judge. I'm sure that was an Obama judge, whatever. Right? Because for them, the goal was never about like a sincere demand to a sincere need to punish people who are doing malicious reacts or whatever. Right? Yeah, the judge is a Hassan orbiter. I don't fucking know. Denims got to the judge, whatever the fuck that means. Yeah. They're saying the judge was a woman and why she won. Nice. It's just so strange to be like this. It's so strange to always be wrong and never really reconsider the places that you get your information from. Right? H3 fans unironically calling the judge a Jew hater. I have a feeling there's some sort of implicit bias from the judge, whether it's him not seeking YouTube as a legitimate form of media or thinking it's a pretty girl versus greedy Jew type situation. To clarify, I don't think this in the slightest. Ethan is the one of the most generous people I've seen. Yeah, generous to his fucking West Bank lawyer who's literally fucking shellacking him, okay? His lawyer from the West Bank, by the way, has landed on a gold mine, okay? This man will sue anybody and everybody. Frivolous lawsuits galore. Holy shit. DG's new argument is the judge said he watches Disney movies on Twitch with his granddaughters. He is violating copyright law and the case will be thrown out. Brother, this is a group of people who used to shit on QAnon. They have become QAnon, but for the lowest level internet beef you can imagine. How is this possible? It's all these liberals who are like, I am a high-minded liberal. I'm so much smarter than these fucking dumb MAGA hogs. I would never believe in conspiracy theories, only to turn around and unironically concoct idiotic conspiracy theories like this. Holy shit. I mean, even the CPS stuff, Child Protective Services was called on Ethan Klein's family. This is completely fucked up. It's completely unacceptable. I stand by that. I said that at the time. Of course, I find it to be completely ridiculous, a ridiculous thing to do. Ethan Klein is a multi-millionaire, okay? Like, you think his children are going to be better off in the system? Fuck no, of course not. Even if he was a bad parent, he would still be a far better parent than the foster care system, okay? And I'm not even saying he's a bad parent. I'm just literally telling you it's an insane concept. And there was never a moment, for example, that I was in support of it. There was never a moment where I said that it was good. I didn't even know about it while it happened, right? And then I was made aware of this situation because Ethan and all these other fucking morons on the internet were claiming that myself and Denims and all these other people had conspired against Ethan and we had called CPS. Yeah. Sex pest in his community is completely out of control. They don't realize that they have been duped, that they're a part of a cult. It's mind-boggling. Everything that this man does, every piece of output he does is for self-interest. He has no real political goals. He is duping you into believing that he has like a broader political agenda that he's serving. It's a lie. He's only serving himself and his own base needs and desires. Half the time it's literally sticking his dick into anything and everything he can, okay, with questionable morals. And then the other half is just advancing a barrage of hatred, just gamergating his own personal enemies. Enemies that he has designed in his mind, by the way. Okay? Enemies that he thinks need to be put down. Myself, Ludwig, Cutie Cinderella, all these other content creators on the internet that he claims have actually reduced his position that he deserves. Never taking credit, never taking any any kind of accountability, never taking accountability whatsoever for his own actions, constantly redirecting the attention at a moment's notice back to others that have unjustly maligned him, right? Perhaps for that reason, Ethan Klein and Destiny are two peas in a pod, perfect together. Not only because of their very unhealthy fascination, dare I say, sexual obsession with the likes of myself, the likes of Denims, Casey Tron, Frogan, numerous others, but also because they're both narcissistic weirdos who literally will never take accountability and self-reflect. It's always someone else to blame. It's always someone else that's fucking them over. It's never their own fault. Yeah. Ethan thinks the Hassan mod Chris CPS is mocking him in his child protective service visit. In reality, Chris CPS has had that username since at least 2021. Chris has also said the CPS stands for Club de Portugal Sporting. Ethan's crashing out over something he made up. Why is Hassan getting notes during our debate from someone named Chris CPS? I will subpoena Hassan if I have to. Hassan, do not erase evidence. Dude, does this strike you as the mindset of a normal person? Like, does this strike you as a normal guy? Yeah, look, at Chris CPS from 2021, from 2022, at Chris CPS. Chris CPS, wake up. Nerd Club is talking about Schneider in 2022. This is, what's the acronym stand for again? Club de Portugal Sporting. This is the paranoid hallucinations of a madman. But as we have found out, it doesn't matter if someone is absolutely insane. Because if they have a fan base of parasocial weirdos, they can advance whatever cause, no matter how mentally unwell that cause may be. Because people fucking believe this shit. People still to this day believe this shit. And a million other things that Ethan has claimed about others. Yeah, meanwhile, there's a compilation of me out there telling my audience to leave Ethan alone for more than a year. And he still had the audacity to blame me for people not liking him. Take accountability. Take accountability. Stop these fucking frivolous lawsuits. Just eat the L. Maybe go on a long retreat. Get some fucking therapy. You have enough money. It'll be good for you. And then you can come back, revamp everything. What? Why am I being mentioned? What's going on? It's because we're revisiting some of the madness here. It's a big thing that there's someone who tells you the vids to watch and talking points, some secret mastermind. He claims to be the legend for watching iDubbbz Content Cop and for reacting, but he has never reacted or even addressed the amazing Amon video on him because that shit was too real and too raw. Yeah, it's crazy. I have combated right-wing misinformation my entire life. Okay, my entire career has been dedicated to fighting the forces of the far right, fighting the forces of right wing, and even sometimes trying to get liberals to be on board with a much better politics, right? I did not think that there would be an entire sphere of influence on the internet exclusively dedicated to A-logging me in the most ferocious manner possible, and then basically designing their entire worldview off of whatever the fuck I'm supporting to be against whatever the fuck I'm supporting. It's insane. I always tell people you're a career man, but they don't believe me. What does that mean? I'm a numbers guy. I'm not a career guy. I'm a numbers guy. Think of how much insanity you're taking for other people, though. You're a great tank. Sure, I'm a tank. I can handle it. But also, there's the other side of the story. Because for every community that exists out there that gains a new member that is aggressively pursuing these causes for unbelievably narcissistic cult leaders out there, that's a person who's lost in the sauce. That's a guy who could have had a healthy life, a girlfriend or a boyfriend, a emperor, you know? That's a person who is going down the right-wing rabbit hole. It's sad. I feel bad for these people. My whole life, I've tried to pull them out of this and have successfully done so, right? You're being a little hard on Ethan. We all know he's secretly a huge fan of you. You're the only Twitch channel that he follows. Yeah. It's just crazy. This is what used to be relegated the crazy guy on the sidewalk, but now they have millions of YouTube subscribers. I know. And also tens of millions of dollars. So they have unlimited bandwidth to go and pursue these frivolous lawsuits to bury others who have far less money than they do under costly litigation, under paperwork. Frogan is a great example of this. Casey Tron is another great example of this. I mean, this motherfucker made Casey Tron do a ISIS hostage style video, made her apologize to Asmongold. Asmongold, Ethan Klein, the great combatter of anti-Semitism, has been aligned with Asmongold for the last 3 years. Kayagate literally pulled me out of a spiral. I was drifting towards some bad shit before some of my friends started yelling about you being an anti-Semite and shocking your dog. All of them call for your ban together and then stopped out of nowhere. I mean, some of them still call for my ban. They do every now and then. The craziest part about it is Casey Tron literally only got added onto the lawsuit pile because of Destiny. Like, why the fuck? Why was Casey Tron even brought up in the lawsuit? At least with Morgan, you can say, like, you know, she's my mod. She's been a target of anger and animosity by incels all over the internet. And I guess Casey Tron has always been a priority target for a lot of incels, but it blows my mind that she just straight up got caught up in this sphere of enmity because Destiny hates her. It's just ridiculous, man. It's fucking ridiculous. So yeah, I'm glad that Denims won her lawsuit. I'm glad that copyright is protected on the internet, that Ethan wasn't able to go back and destroy his own precedent from his previous lawsuit. But it's been an insane year, I won't lie. Or insane couple of years, as a matter of fact. This issue makes people go crazy. I mean, look, Shannon Watts, New York Times best-selling author of Fired Up, one of the founders of Moms Demand Action. I will never support any candidate who proudly campaigns with Hassan Piker ever. Like, that's an adult. So Hassan derangement syndrome has moved beyond the sphere of online commentariat and has actually moved into, best-selling authors. Ride or die, Democratic Party loyalists, consultants. I don't know, man. It's fucking insane. Matt Bennett also talked about this. Mallory has a very bright future. This is the right decision, but she will hold statewide office someday. You did that, Matt Bennett. You fucked her campaign up. I don't know why these guys operate like this. Okay? I don't understand it. Whenever more people get HTS, it means way more normies approve of you. Yeah. I just don't want people to be led astray. I don't want people to fucking literally develop resentment towards policies that genuinely would help their lives. Okay? Sex Pestiny has been nonstop tweeting about you today and this week in general. His court case must be going poorly. Yeah. I just wish you would, like, my ultimate my ultimate demand, my ultimate ask is for these guys to just leave myself and all these other people alone, Yeah. Are we not acknowledging that AOC refused to endorse unhinged DSA candidates, started dissociating herself from Hamas Piker's unhinged comment and behavior, and expressed how frustrating it is to work as a politician when leftists never show up to support good policies? Yes, buddy, you're right. AOC fucking hates me. Yeah, so does Zoran. AOC hates me. Zoran hates me. Bernie hates me. These guys literally live in an alternative reality. Okay? Yeah, AOC refused to endorse those unhinged DSA candidates, except she just took a photo with them yesterday. That's why she did that. There was no coordination between Zoran and AOC, as I told you there was, in terms of cross endorsements. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Your own personal hatred, born out of the communities that you're a part of, has caused you to literally live in upside down world where you just don't know things, right? You don't know what's going on. And because reality keeps showing you that you might actually be wrong, you spiral endlessly. I'm confused. They hate you but love Zoran. They really love him. That's because Zoran is a great politician and a very popular figure. So they can't actively talk about how much they hate Zoran because they understand that that would look unhinged for them. A lot of these guys do love Zoran and they do love AOC, but they fucking despise me. You're joking, but Bernie probably does resent you and your toy train. Yeah, totally. Every person he's gone after has been because his ego got hurt, not even because of Israel. He just uses Israel, even when he started with you. That's why it's so bizarre at first when he felt personally affronted from you, not kissing his ass and telling him he was right. That's when he came from you, not when he knew you supported Palestine after. I worry about Abdullah Sayed, but I do think all his problems are easily fixable in a way that's not true about Plattner. Let it be known that every liberal campaign pundit that didn't want them, that the West Wing LARP is dead. Democratic voters are craving partisanship that is divorced from Crockett-type grievance. If McMorrow and Mills wanted to win, they should have been on the stump instead of bitching about Hassan Piker and tattoos. Okay, Mills never did that. Mills did bitch about tattoos. We were Janet Series, ride or die. Till the bitter end. Janet Mills would never disavow me. She knows I'm her strongest soldier. We learn in addiction recovery that not everyone can be saved, especially by another person. People have to seek the prosperity and good health themselves. Some people literally get addicted to the dopamine rush that comes from love and or hate. Is this one of yours? What is this?
Caucasity leads to cracktivity, leads to crackganda, leads to caucasity. As you can see, it's a vicious cycle. Let me give you guys some examples so I can...
No, this is not one of mine. All right. I kind of want to watch this and then move on to fun reacts. Candace Owens was on Sean Ryan. These are your ops. What is this?
Adopting is to make sure that we're going in spaces where people are already gathering, having fun, being in community, and how can we make sure that we're showing ways that we want to build trust and relationship.
Okay. This is what Claude's most advanced model on the max thinking setting on whether or not Francesca.
I met a few deorbiters in person. Well, this is another one. They always derail anything policy talk into weird hatred of you. It's always been a bad look because people have no idea how these are good policies workers' needs. At least I hate this guy and it stands on XYZ. Yeah. Even Reddit atheists are supporting you. What is this? Mallory McMorrow to end her U.S. Senate campaign. Feels like someone who may have had a future, but then she got captured by some of the worst consultants out there and womp womp. I think she started off strong with the polling, but the combination of her weak policies and more exposure to general public did damage over time. r/politics. Mallory McMorrow is a politician designed for r/politics. So if they're actually defending me and attacking her, things have changed dramatically, even in the Reddit sphere. You know? Well, that explains the lack of awareness when she attacked Hassan Piker and compared him to Nick Fuentes and called him a racist terrorist. She really did not read the room there. They did the same with Maylot Kuros and Zoran Mamdani. Shockingly, people don't seem to care about a leftist influences they probably haven't heard before, and they can't afford food and rent. Who could have guessed? Apparently not neoliberal consultants. The thing is, people like James Carville and other neoliberal advisors is that they feel threatened by leftist ideology. They're firmly center to center-right politicians in the end, and they don't want to admit that. When faced with the fact that leftist politicians like Zoran, Maylot Kuros, Daria Elisa, Claire Valdez, Chris Rabb, etc. all are saying the same thing, we need to focus on the working class, on affordability, and winning elections left and right. They begin to feel threatened. Hassan is one of, if not the loudest and most aggressive voices in that space, so it's not surprising that he becomes the target of their ire. Yeah, James Carville. Goes read up on James Carville. He's married to his direct opposition? Yes. These are some of the bounties, I think. These are some of the bounties that come from winning. Because at the end of the day, that is the greatest proof of concept. Okay? We can talk about our theories till the fucking cows come home. But when we put our theories to test, okay, in a popularity contest where those ideals are matched with the ideals of centrist, neoliberal, corporate Democrats, and our ideals win because people understand that there is an alternative way to see politics. There is a way to win support. There's a vision that centers their interests, everyone's interest, the working class interest. People become emboldened. Okay? And that's what happened. That's what's going on. That's why you'll see more and more people inevitably come to terms with this reality. People who are invested in politics that may have thought Mallory McMorrow was genuinely a good candidate will inevitably say, you know what, Abdul was a great candidate, actually. I can't wait to support him. Now she can get back to her day job complaining about Hassan Piker Lamau, most serious U.S. candidate ever. Her marching band interest will never be forgotten, though. It's weird that they've all lashed on this constant Hassan Piker shit when most voters, one, don't know who he is, and two, don't give a shit. Run for something, not against some boogeyman. Andrew Cuomo did the exact same thing. He was talking about that guy almost daily when most people have no idea who he is or simply don't care. We cared about what was happening in New York City, it turns out. Cuomo was walking around with a poster of Hassan Piker the day before the general election. It was awesome. Dude thought some random 50-year-old bodega owner would be a single-issue voter and that issue would be Hassan Piker. To be perfectly honest, I'd never heard of him until Cuomo decided to make a central villain of the mayoral campaign. It's almost unbelievable that he thought this guy would be a breaking point for New York City voters. Yeah, Liz Smith was a major advisor to both the McMorrin campaign and the Cuomo campaign. It's a byproduct of people being too online. Online centrists and alt-right people hate Hassan to a borderline creepy degree and thus are perpetually mad that people who actually go outside are not constantly looking up or fuming about what he says. Like they genuinely refuse to get that most people who live normal lives are not constantly following stupid Twitch drama from a guy that weirdos hate watch for fun. I think I'm chronically online, but then stuff like this comes up and I have thankfully no idea. Does he make bad arguments? Like, why don't they like him? Is there anything more than a lefty they disagree with? Basically, one of the centrist big takeaways from the 24 election was that the media was too hostile to Dems and they needed a Joe Rogan to the left. Gen Z progressive said, we have that in Hassan. That scared centrists because Hassan is ultra progressive and criticized the party a lot. He's also very hostile to Israel, which is obviously the issue for the party hierarchy. McMorrow attacked him hard for this, but leaned too hard into Islamophobic stereotypes, which evaporated her base since her lane was progressive but not extremist. You'll hear a lot more about him since after he got attacked, he started getting more involved in primaries, throwing support behind several Democratic socialists who unseated incumbents. I like Hassan. He's good people. He has the balls to speak out and educate against a very clearly corrupt capitalist system. He's also one of the few white leftist commentators in the online sphere who has truly studied and internalized the works of black leftists. I judge him by his enemies, and most, if not, are all clearly evil people. Oh my God. This is r/politics, folks. He would hate that you're calling him white. He doesn't care what black people think. He calls himself white nearly every stream, Lamau. Your entire view of him is shaped by out-of-context clips you've seen, as evidenced by the second part of your comment. Exactly. Per FD signifier, Hassan has read Fanon. He's the real deal. Most libs, let alone leftists, have no idea who Fanon is. Okay, fine. White Chinese. Have they tried to clip that into something negative yet? Is your problem that he's a class traitor to the rich and it makes it hard to be a class traitor to the poor? His mansion is a 4 or 5 bedrooms, 2 or 3 bathrooms, and a postage stamp pool. It's smaller than the $250K house I grew up in a few hours north. Just because he could afford a mortgage in a fancy neighborhood, it invalidates everything he says? Does every progressive person who lives there have to be ignored also? If he lived in a dump in the Oklahoma farmland, would you suddenly be fine with him? Why or why not? Afford a mortgage, lol. He's rich with his rich parents. He's not paying a mortgage. He does not have rich parents. His parents financially dependent on him. Wow, that's a huge accusation. Given that animal abuse is a huge crime in California. Was he charged and arrested for this recently? You can find proof in less than 30 seconds that he doesn't use a shock collar, dude. He doesn't live in a mansion. He also does a hell of a lot more than bitch and moan, given that he regularly shows up at protests, helped bring aid to Cuba, is one of the biggest donators of the first Amazon union, and is actively working to help get progressive candidates into Congress. Don't forget, abuses his dog. A narrative perpetuated by jackasses like you who watch a 5-second clip out of context. This is a dying movement. This is the last gasp of a dying movement. I cannot believe that r/politics would get here. I remember what it used to look like in 2023 in the aftermath of October 7. I guess it's crazy that Reddit, even Reddit is turning. Even r/politics is turning. Because many of these guys, I think a lot of these guys are the ones who just get caught in the crossfire. They get inundated with those brigaders, and they eventually develop these kinds of opinions on myself and all these other people. But they actually do hold some kind of principled stance where they do actually want to defeat Republicans, right? Yeah. You being the biggest donor to the Amazon union was the funniest leak. I know. Keep simping influencers. Keep simping fascists and billionaires. Yes, wanting people not to need influencers to teach them history and logic. Me simping fascists and billionaires. One thing I want to note that maybe wasn't made clear by the comments is that he's one of the pioneers of the dirtbag left movement. Basically, people with left-wing ideals who abandoned the polite, politically correct messaging that was once associated with woke progressives. He's got the same somewhat vulgar sense of humor that you'd expect from any mid-30s dude on the internet. Prude conservatives and centrists see this as an opportunity to use him as a stand-in for all progressives in order to paint the left as aggressive and degenerate. For example, he once infamously joked that America deserved 9/11 when reflecting on America's inhumane treatment of the Middle East in the 80s and 90s. It's pretty typical dark humor for someone of his demographic, but the media has spun it to depict the entire left as completely pro-terrorism and anti-West. He has long since backtracked on that, acknowledging that it was a bad joke made in poor taste, but the media still hammers it in with any mention of him, assuming people won't Google the context behind it. Your thesis ignores that the right is a bunch of assholes and has no moral high ground to clutch their pearls about the left not being nice to them. The reason we have lost ground is because moderates on the left think it's more important to be nice than to win, as if there's no consequences to losing. Being history's noblest losers have gotten our boomercrat gerontocracy 45 years of backsliding in the tug of war with the right. Oh my God, this guy's cooking. Yes, I did cover FIFA, the United States rigging the FIFA match with Belgium. Yeah, you know who would hate to see r/politics get to this point? Ghislaine Maxwell. Does it not concern you that being received positively on r/politics is not a good thing? No, it doesn't. Do you want to know why? Someone who's on the fence about you? Twitch star Hassan Piker notches a win with New York City Socialist, possible paywall from Bloomberg. My understanding is that his community did a ton of phone banking in the run-up to the election, that they pulled in roughly 2,000 votes for Chevalier, which is almost exactly how many votes she beat Espaillat by. I just assumed that did reaction content all day. That's pretty impressive. He's a real enigma for me because I really dislike his streaming persona and practices, and I think his policies are hit or miss, but some of the misses are much bigger than I can ignore, primarily related to foreign policy and politics outside of the USA. But on the other hand, he serves an extremely important purpose in being a gateway to draw in the angry young demographic who is so often targeted by the far right. That persona that I dislike so much is probably a significant part of why it works. So it sort of takes the wind out of my self-righteous sails. I really do not know if he's a net positive or net negative, and my opinion on that seems to be based on whether the last thing I saw him do was. And if he keeps organizing, I definitely can't be upset about that. Quite the opposite. Hang on, a level-headed criticism of Hassan Piker. Yeah, we forget this is Reddit, so of course they still have a very, they still definitely have a very negative association with my foreign policy, which is no more war, please. I beg of you. I'm an anti-imperialist. Let's not wage war. Let's wage peace. Okay, here's my fucking foreign policy.
Not war, not war, not war. Just peace, just peace, just peace. Forever, forever, forever. Peace forever. No crazy war. No crazy. No crazy war. No crazy war. Please, please, please. Yes, peace. Peace forever. Peace forever.
I largely agree. I don't think the majority of his content is geared towards me, but plenty of the clips I've seen and interviews on the street of him coming across as generally well-intentioned and well-informed. But also, I'm not going to expect a 100% batting rate for a Twitch streamer, the modern-day equivalent of a talk radio host. That he's at all able to mobilize young people and steer them away from the far right is a net positive, and it's not something that the current Democratic establishment, including liberals here in Canada, seem particularly interested in doing. Yeah, I think a lot of my issues didn't come down to this. He's just on the air too much to be fully functional as a communicator. I think that if I were to talk to him in a normal setting, we would be extremely aligned in all but the details, but streaming does something to people, so it pushes them towards more extreme reactions and less informed opinions, as he's both trying to learn about a new event in real time while also fielding constant engagement from trolls. But even if I understand it, it does not mean that I really like it. But like you said, yeah, look, my perspective on this is, yeah, downvoted. His foreign policy, like opposition to genocide and foreign intervention, why is that an enigma to you? Actually controversial. It's not exactly approaching this conversation in a productive way. I did not mention specifics because I do not want to get into a flame war that will serve to do nothing. I want to be a bit more specific. I think Hassan has a tendency to view almost all geopolitics through the lens of American imperialism. The lens itself is actually not bad. It's a useful way of evaluating. Yeah, of course I see that because America is the hegemonic superpower. The problem is that he favors it to such an extent that he tends to act as if most negative things other countries do are because of American imperialism. That is the reason. That is literally directly the reason. It's America is a superpower, is the superpower, is the hegemonic superpower. Of course other countries do like what these guys are talking about is like other countries engaging in acts of repression, political repression, like Iran, for example. That is directly a consequence of American intervention. Yes. If a country is engaging in political repression and we don't talk about it, that's still a direct byproduct. An ally engages in political repression, whether it be Turkey, which I'm unbelievably critical of and talk about all the fucking time, or whether it be Saudi Arabia. That is because America has allowed it to happen. Okay? America could just as easily criticize its allies for doing these sorts of things. They don't. They choose not to because they don't give a shit. America's enemies often engage in political repression because they're directly under the line of fire. Okay? Friction often causes political repression. If you're not a real democratic process, if you don't actually have the people's mandate in your governance, you have to engage in acts of political persecution and repression. Okay? That is for America's allies. For America's enemies, they oftentimes lose the people's mandate by direct intervention because America destroys their economy. Okay? America destroys their fucking economy. America leaves them unstable. America's constantly engaging in psyops, trying to make the public rise up in arms, trying to foment a coup, like in a place like Iran. And because of that constant stage of warfare, these countries have to engage in political repression, oftentimes completely unacceptable levels of political persecution, repression, and even outright violence in the case of Iran, right? We've never lived in a world where this kind of intervention has not existed, especially in the aftermath of the advent of the internet. It's become much easier, especially because most of those websites are also owned by American billionaires. The best example I can give, what made me aware of his tendency, was his reaction to the annexation of Crimea, identical to Barack Obama's, by the way. Barack Hussein Obama. I'm willing to bet this person loves Barack Hussein Obama. In his comments leading up to and immediately after the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the use of the lens is what caused him so seriously to miss with regards to Russia invading Ukraine. My perspective on Russia's invasion of Ukraine was identical to Zelensky's perspective and Ukrainians' perspective. They too did not believe that Russia would do such an unbelievably insane and violent thing. He later admitted he was wrong, but his reason for why he was wrong is paraphrased. I thought Russia was going to be more rational, but I guess this kind of makes sense when you look at the aggressive expansion of NATO and the U.S. The problem here is that NATO expansion is not why Russia annexed Crimea and invaded the rest of Ukraine. It literally is. Zelensky literally begged people to stop saying an invasion was coming. Yeah. NATO not existing would not have made it so that Russia would not be expansionist. It would just mean that Russia's expansionism would be unopposed. A lot of the drive for people to join NATO is not because the U.S. aggressively forcing them to do so. It's because those nations are sitting too close to imperialist Russia and want to protect themselves. It's possible for the U.S. to both be on the right side of something as rare it is. It's also possible for two imperialist powers who are both bad to be in opposition because of what their goals are. Wait, what? So you do agree with me? What the fuck? This dude literally took the long way home. I mean, he doesn't, I don't agree with the NATO expansion part, but yeah, his final conclusion is like, yeah, America found itself on the right side morally of a conflict for the worst possible reasons. That's my position. So many of these motherfuckers literally will be like, I actually don't like Hassan because he's pro-Russia. And then they will literally talk through their perspective. There's also a blanketing of like all irredentist action or all action that Russia has taken with what it's currently doing. Okay. There's a significant difference between the annexation of Crimea. You might have a disagreement with it. I think it's perfectly valid to have a disagreement with the annexation of any fucking territory that doesn't belong to you. I don't think it's the appropriate thing for Russia to do. I think it was illegal. Okay. But if you can't see the difference between the annexation of Crimea, which was allowed by the Barack Obama administration, ironically enough, versus what the Russian irredentist action in eastern Ukraine looks like, I don't know what to tell you. That's a very different situation. Russia always, throughout the entire, entire history of Crimea belonging to Ukraine, still operated Sevastopol. It was this entry point into the Black Sea. Okay? And once George W. Bush, that fucking demon, on his way out, decided to come out and say we should bring Georgia and Ukraine into NATO, we should start those conversations. Of course, it was shortly thereafter that Vladimir Putin was like, all right, well, I have to take a piece of fucking territory from Georgia to ensure that no such NATO expansion ever exists. And I have to take a piece of fucking, I have to make sure that the Crimean base, Sevastopol, is still in Russian hands. He utilized he also used in his favor the demographic makeup of the Crimean population, which had been Russified long before Vladimir Putin ever came to control the Russian Federation, which didn't even exist when Crimea was being fucking Russified anyway. So what are you to do in that situation? Like, well, you're presenting a through line between a time period where fucking Ukraine was also a part of the USSR to Vladimir Putin. You're making it seem like he Russified Crimea. This is the ultimate problem with your content. You talk about various subjects for long periods of time over many different days, weeks, months, and years. People miss parts of your commentary while also misunderstanding other parts of it. Unless they're watching you every day, there will always be some missing context. Yes. Yeah. They saw me offhandedly say Crimea River, and they fucking flipped on it. Some of the people that are already like pro-American imperialism have been disingenuously using it over and over, and they love spamming it. One of the guys that always loves spamming is that Syrian twink that now lives in Japan, formerly of the American Enterprise Institute. Again, all these fucking libtards are getting their notes from a guy who worked for the American Enterprise Institute. I'm sorry, that should cause you to really reconsider your fucking worldview. There should never be a point, if you're a liberal, if you're a Democrat, you should never listen to an American Enterprise Institute guy and go, I agree with him, especially as it pertains to foreign policy. Even saying Putin is an irredentist is ridiculous. He's just a fascist. Just say it. Wait, what? Yeah. What are you talking about? He's a fucking ultra-nationalist that oversees a kleptocracy. Why the fuck would I? Like, that's the other thing. There is no ideological reason for me to, in any way, shape, or form, be pro-Vladimir Putin. I'm not. I never have been. This is also one of the most annoying parts about it. Okay? It's one of the most annoying parts about this concept is that people have just decided, like, I'm pro-Putin. I'm pro-Russia. I'm not. I mean, I'm pro-Russian people. I don't want the Russian people to suffer. I don't want the Ukrainian people to suffer. I don't want anybody to suffer. I'm for the working class across the board. Okay, I can accept that. I mean, again, well, welcome to hearing my actual perspective on Russia. How does Obama allowing the occupation of Crimea a reason for Crimea not being returned to Ukraine? Great question. Okay. Great question. The reason why I'm bringing up Obama is because Obama also made that calculation that there is a high density of Russian speakers in Crimea that were fairly sympathetic to Russia to begin with. And it would be a major mistake to try to wage war with a nuclear superpower over a territory that the most significant aspect of that territory was already in the hands, due to pre-existing contracts, in the hands of Russia. Sevastopol was already operated by Russia, right? It was a Russian naval base. It was the Russian entry point into the Black Sea. So Barack Obama saw the intention from Vladimir Putin and unironically made the right decision not to try and fucking wage war. And yes, the Ukrainian army did not exist at the time. It was functionally non-existent. So they got to work. They built the ranks of the Ukrainian army with some, not so great people who now dominate big aspects of the Ukrainian armed forces, but we're not going to get into that. That's another byproduct of Russia's irredentist action. Usually the forces that are seen as liberators are always going to be the most nationalist, most fascist forces in the country. It makes sense. Your Russia take is kind of nuanced for the American liberal while on the issue of Taiwan law. I mean, my Russia take is not that different. That's why they get mad. I'm in favor of less friction. I'm in favor of diplomacy. Okay? That's why I was in favor of following through on the Minsk agreement. And I'm fairly certain that if you were to ask every single Ukrainian right now and every single person, every single party involved, what would be better? Following through on the Minsk agreement or the current battle lines being drawn in eastern Ukrainian territory as Russian forces have entrenched themselves and hardened their battle lines? They would probably say, yeah, the Minsk agreement was a far better solution. And no, the Minsk agreement did not surrender Donetsk and Luhansk. It made it autonomous regions. Also, here's the other aspect of this. And this one really pisses off a lot of people when I mention this. Obviously, Ukraine itself, like the Ukrainian government itself, sought out a punishment for the Crimean population after the annexation. Okay? The dams that were built under the USSR were destroyed. They actually eviscerated the waterways into Ukraine or into Crimea. So they clearly also were like cutting their losses in that regard. Do you understand? There was no, and before people say that was a strategic decision to wage war or whatever, that's still collective punishment under every single circumstance. And not only that, but also what war utility, what war did you wage for Ukraine after doing that? No, it was a significant punishment. It was a punishment for the Crimean population that did not have the same exact interests. Do you think Putin would have invaded if NATO was not encroaching on Russia? Or do you think that was his excuse? I think it's both. I think Vladimir Putin wanted to leave a long-lasting legacy. I think Vladimir Putin genuinely thinks like Ukraine should be a part of Russia. He wants to do the Russian Empire to the best of his ability. Okay, I do believe that. I mean, he said it as such. He's openly mentioned it to Tucker Carlson and numerous other people. Okay. But having said that, we'll never know what he would have done if America had not aggressively postured and consistently claimed that Russia was a major foreign adversary and also engaged in NATO expansion or even entertained NATO expansion. Anyway. It's just funny because it's like that guy literally agrees with me. Like, Russia is the immoral actor in the invasion of Ukraine. I have consistently maintained this position. I've said it since day one, and I will continue saying it because it's true. Now, will it have secondary effect as far as like undermining the confidence that people have in American imperialism, all that sort of stuff? That remains to be seen, but it seems like the answer is yes. But Russia's actions in Ukraine have always been immoral. Having said that, America's investment in Ukraine has nothing to do with liberating the Ukrainian people. And when I used to say this, people get really mad at me. Now they kind of recognize where I'm coming from. But even then they get frustrated. Ukraine is a weird one because both sides wanted to wage war. Fuck no. Dude, Ukraine did not want to wage war. Are you kidding me? Zelensky was literally elected in the office because he was going to... there were a lot of people who hated Zelensky in Ukraine because they thought he wasn't going to be aggressive enough against Russia. Are you kidding me? Zelensky was, ironically enough, the anti-corruption candidate, which, we found out that he was doing some corruption of his own with the Panama Papers. But Zelensky was literally the we are not going to wage war with Russia candidate. So no, I don't think Ukraine ever wanted to fucking wage this war. Are you kidding me? What country would ever want millions of their citizens to escape, to have his future be robbed of them? What country wants a quarter of their nation state to be destroyed by a foreign occupier? No one wants that. That's crazy. Ukraine was forced into this, for sure. Yeah. The majority of Ukrainian citizens now are polled in favor of a negotiated settlement to the war, including ceding territory. So, once again, it goes back to Vladimir Putin. Is he fucking insane enough to demand territory that he doesn't currently occupy with the hopes that America will give a push to Ukraine? Does he still think he has the capacity to encroach further into Ukrainian territory? Bro, what? They never wanted war? Wait, what do you mean? Ukraine? That's what I said. I just said that. Anyway. We used to be a proper country. Hassan's biceps, we still talk about you.
Sorry that you fucking can't stop fapping when you see my ginormous fucking biceps, okay? That's a you problem, bitch.
Yeah, I know I'm different, I'm one of a kind. I took off on bitches and left them behind. How do you hate me if I'm on your mind? Sending me messages every Valentine. Bitches is messy, but I'm petty. Don't gotta edit. Check the Getty. I keep it real, I keep it sexy. Holla for backup before they address me. Hoes do all of that typing, but never once did I get pressed. It's obvious bitches obsessed. If it's fuck me, then we having sex. If I pop back, then they go. Bitch,
all right.
I'm sorry that you fucking can't stop fapping when you see my ginormous fucking biceps, okay?
Okay. You got it. Here, I'll give you a little taste, okay? I'll give you a little fucking taste. God damn, dude. Can you secretly go twink before you get back to China? I'm never going to be able to go twink. I want to, but I'll never be able to get twinkified. Start pumping Reddit and steroids. Fuck it. Can you go a little Mexican? I am a little Mexican. What do you mean I'm wearing a fucking Mexico jersey? What are you talking about? Based on some of the latest Chinese gacha games drama and your beard and square jaw makes you too gay, the twinks are the height of masculinity. What is this? Ellis Island American geopolitics versus Heritage American geopolitics. The Iranian Nazi regime is neither defeated nor subdued. It seems as emboldened as ever. Millions at Sayed Khamenei funeral. Can somebody confirm Galaba Fist? Iranian. Can somebody confirm Jackson Hinkle's bisexuality? He kind of got that bi face. Why lie? How the fuck does Jackson get all this access? FSB agent. For the longest time, I thought he was an American. I thought he was an American agent, but I think he's just straight up FSB agent. Living my dreams. I too would like to hand out Shadabit in Tehran. Okay. FSB is the Russian CIA, chat. KGB. My Putin supporting father was the first to show me him. I was always skeptical. Just join FSB, move to Moscow, and you can. I would never do that. That's the funniest thing is that, like, I know ACP presents itself as like loving America, but I low-key do actually love America a little too much to ever do such a thing.
So
all right, we got our boy. I miss him. He also went to Cuba and he made this video and he's view mogging me with his video. Abdul was able to farm a racist voter with good policies.
He said, I don't like you much. I said, I'm sorry. He said, but I'm going to vote for you. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm going to vote for you. I was like, why? He's like, because I think you really want me to have health care. I was like, I do. I really want you to have health care. He's like, that's why I'm going to vote for you. I was like, so why don't you like me? He's like, well, because you're Muslim. I was like, oh, okay. All right, good. Turns out I don't need you to like me. I need you to like you. All these folks who voted for Donald Trump are looking at this now and saying, is this really better? Is $5 gas better? Is a war I never wanted to fight better? And I think we got an opportunity to be like, you know what could be better? You having health care. Your kids having good schools. and corporations not owning your government so you actually can stand up to them. That's what could be better. I had a guy come up to me and said, I don't like you much. I said, I'm sorry. He said, but I'm going to vote for you. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm going to vote for you. I was like, why? He's like, because I think you really want me to have health care. I was like, I do. I really want you to have health care. He's like, that's why I'm going to vote for you. I was like, so why don't you like me?
Unc, you're missing out. Gavin McGinnis heated debate versus Rabbi Mizrahi and Black Israelite. Dude. Hassan, I'm the chatter who alerted you to the National Mall evacuation last night, and I'm still riding that high. That's so funny. Congratulations, chatter. You did it. You were the town crier. Okay, stop linking shit. We're watching Boy Boy.
Was sailing in the Caribbean.